depth of your love. Limits can't contain the heart of you, God. I'm amazed at the depth of your love.
LifeSpeak podcast sponsored by Chafin Real Estate Services.
My name is Leanne Chaffin, and I am the podcast producer and host of LifeSpeaks. And LifeSpeaks is all about telling our stories and having a conversation. And so I'm very excited to introduce Angela Bakker and Gina Mitchell. And I don't know Gina, but Angela knows Gina very well. I know Angela through we were on the board together for Real Choices Women's Centers. And when I heard Angela's story, I didn't know it was Angela. And I read this story and I could not stop crying. It's an amazing story. And so what I would like to ask Gina, if you'll introduce yourself first, and then kind of tell a little bit about yourself, and then Angela will.
Sure. Thank you, Leanne. My name is Gina Mitchell. Angela is a very good friend of mine that we met years ago through Women's Encounter, and our journey together has mostly been centered around her children. And from the beginning with, challenges, getting pregnant and going through in vitro and having the honor and the pleasure of giving her shots in her stomach and praying over her and, looking for God to bless them with children. And I've since retired and have moved away from the Reno Sparks area. Live in Arizona now with my husband and 2 dogs, and I'm here a couple times a year, with my Bakker friends and family, and her children are like grandbabies to me. I just adore them.
How about you, Angela?
So I'm Angela Bakker, and Gina's a good friend. She popped into my life right when we were planning to have children, so that's our connection. And then, of course, meeting you through being on the board for Real Choices Women's Center. Mother of 2 precious children, wife to Michael Bakker. We are not from this area. I am originally from Australia.
Really?
Yeah.
I could never tell from your
I
accent.
know, right? So if you detect the hint of accent there, that's where that's coming from. And we moved to this area right when we got married, not knowing a soul. And Reno quickly became home. It was more like, let's see what happens. My husband had a job at the university, and then you just start making roots, meeting friends that become family, and it's hard to imagine ever leaving the area. And
So how did you 2 meet?
so we met through Women's Encounter.
Oh, that's right, Women's Encounter.
Yeah. So I was asked
Through Summit Church.
Through
right?
Summit, yeah. I was asked to be on the steering committee to bring Encounter to the church, and so we were sent to go to one. But Gina had already, so we could see what it's like and bring it back, and Gina had already gone, so Gina was there to host us at this other encounter, and then we, together with a group of ladies from Summit, brought it back and started the encounters at Summit. 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Because
And it's still going strong.
yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, that was when Gina would help me with my shots, was when I was at Encounter. And I didn't have the guts to do it myself. My husband would do it for me, and I was at Encounter, and she says, don't worry, I gotcha.
I'm sure glad she's your friend, because I couldn't.
I know, right?
I'd be fainting.
Yeah, right. So she's been
Oh
there
my
from the
gosh.
beginning with both kiddos through the pregnancies, all the stuff. Yeah.
So it was kind of it wasn't in vitro or anything like that. It was just shots for hormones?
No, it
or-
was IVF.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's a whole nother...
Oh, yeah.
So-
So we tried for a few years and nothing was happening and there was nothing wrong. Couldn't find anything wrong. And so we had started pursuing both,
That's
adoption or IVF. And because the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with either of us, they're like, we'll try. And thankfully,
And they weren't getting any younger.
no, because we got married a little bit later. So we were, just in God's hands. And we knew we wanted kids. We just, however, God brought them to us. And that was,
That's fabulous.
it was a journey.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yes,
it
was.
It's like, okay, Lord.
Yeah.
This way you're going to do it.
Yeah. It was there was a lot of joy when you're trying so hard for something and you finally get it. There's the next level of appreciation as opposed to it happening just easily and instantly. And so when it did happen for us, it was like, oh, we've been working so hard at this. And so it felt like such a blessing and a gift. Yeah.
So if you want to kind of bring us through the beginnings of that, how the whole pregnancy and everything.
Yeah. So I had my son, not a problem, completely healthy pregnancy. Everything was going according to plan and full term, no issues whatsoever. Healthy little baby boy. And then about a year and a half later, roughly, we were through the fog of newborn and we're like, maybe we could have another one. Initially, I'm like, I can't even imagine having 2 children. It was so much work and it was a bit of shock. And so once we were through that fog and we decided to try again, and we were blessed with the pregnancy of my daughter, Naomi. And everything was purring along, just identically to what I went through with my son with the morning sickness. And the only thing that was different was I wasn't feeling her kick as much, because I'd kept a log as to when I started feeling my son's kicks. And I'm like, that's weird, but, I was told every baby's different.
Yeah, and she's a little girl.
Yeah, and everything could be different. So I was like, I didn't put too much stock in it. And then just cruising along, going to the appointments. And there was one little indicator that some levels were off when they did some blood work. But they're like, don't even give it a second thought. It'll be fine. And so then at 23 weeks, I believe it was, we went in for a scan. And that was when our world crashed.
So that's 5 months?
Yeah, 5 months-ish. Yeah, so 23, because, and it was around that time, 22, 23 weeks, we found out.
And you're in Reno, right?
Yes.
Reno, okay.
And we saw a specialist here. We were seeing a maternal fetal specialist just because I was in my 30s, well into my 30s. Right. And so it was, you just keep an eye on older, pregnancies. And
was your husband with you?
Yes.
Was Jeannie with you?
He came to this appointment just because it was going to be an ultrasound. We see our baby, and we just decided, let's get a sitter. It was just because I was going to a lot of these by myself. No big deal. Done this once with Nathaniel. It's fine. And he wanted to come to this one, and so we found a babysitter for our son, and he came along, and, the nurse was like, oh, you feeling okay? And I'm like, yeah, great. Are you sure? Yeah, I feel great. Everything's normal? Yeah. And then, she was asking so many questions. I'm like, I've been through this before. Something's going on. And I start gripping my husband's hand, and he's like, don't worry, honey, everything's fine. She's like, I'm just going to get the doctor. And she came in, and this is word for word. A lot of our stories are blur. When you go through a crisis, your brain shrinks. There's moments that I don't even remember, but some things I remember so clearly. And she said, so you feeling okay? And I said, yeah, I feel totally normal. She's like, well, that's surprising because there's nothing normal about your pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't have the best bedside manner, but neither
don't.
here nor there. They have to do this every day. I get they have to.
They need some training because really that's about the time that you'd like to punch them.
Yeah.
Because there is no reason that they should be that way. So medical professionals, that's my clue for you.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, you want the best, right? And ideally, you want the best with good bedside manner. But it was, hey, at least she gave it to us straight. And she said, absolutely everything is wrong with your pregnancy. And you just, she was measuring behind a little bit. I didn't think much of it because my son was measuring ahead. He was huge, And so to me, it wasn't a big deal. But apparently, she had started falling behind even more. And I'm like, my naive, non-medical, well, I'll just eat more. I'll give her, but it was far more complicated than that. And basically she wasn't getting nourished. So my placenta had not attached properly. So no matter how much, she was slowly starving to death to the point where she was going to die and then take me with her. So I was facing the highest risk. The number one reason women die during pregnancy was what I was facing. So had I not had maternal care,
What did they call that condition?
what's HELP? It's called HELP. As far as what hit me, HEELP, I think, or and that's what would have taken me. It's basically really, really high blood pressure issues. And Naomi was called IUGR, which is intrauterine growth restriction. So basically her growing was restricted. She wasn't going to grow to the point. And then when there's a point where the umbilical cord stops sending one way and it reverses and comes back into the mother. I found this all out later on. But basically the information we got at that appointment was she's going to die. There's no hope for her. And we need to monitor you very closely, and you will have to wait till 25 weeks. So I basically had 2 weeks to sit with this information.
And wait to do what?
To deliver her by like, for whatever reason, I forget the details, but we weren't going to deliver at 23. She said at 25 weeks we will be doing a C-section and bringing her out, and she will either be dead or she will pass. And so we were in total shock, like, come in for just a healthy scan to see our little baby. And so shell-shocked, went home devastated, and started calling our family. We didn't have much in us to talk to anyone at that point. And basically, there's nothing you can do about it. So we have a few friends in the medical community, doctors and nurses, and reached out to them. And they're aware of the situation, but they're like, you need a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth opinion. Like, don't take this for what it is. As far as we know what it looks like, but we're wrong all the time as doctors.
Yeah, because they're practicing.
Yeah. And
Right?
and so that gave us just not a glimmer of hope, but the chance, like, okay, this isn't just it. We're not just sitting ducks. And so then we visited our fertility doctor here in Reno, and he highly recommended. He's like, you need to go to UCSF, San Francisco. They're the best fetal specialists in the country.
What was your gut feel, though, with first information? So you had the first information. I know it's like shock,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But did you have like a gut feeling that
Like,
we're going to be okay? Or?
no, not at all. Okay. I was almost in too much shock to process, because additionally I was pregnant and it wasn't looking good for me. And you just, whatever medicine you're dealing with is so foreign to you. Yeah. And so when a specialist tells you this is what's going to happen, you're just like, that's it. It's that's it. There's no hope. And it's not till you start researching and talking to other people that you maybe feel a little bit more empowered. If you're dealing with cancer, well, I've got a friend who had breast cancer and she overcame it. But this was a situation we hadn't known anyone to go through. We weren't in the world of OBGYN and fetal specialists. So I had zero hope when a doctor told me this is not going to work out. That's where I was at. Okay. And all we can do is pray for a miracle at this point. And so then, amazingly with our story, I think what makes it so beautiful is that we had so many witnesses. As far as people, it wasn't just my husband and I. We had so many different doctors and people that were able to be a part of the story. And I think God was laying that out to not verify, but to empower the story. It wasn't just this one little doctor in Reno. No. You're going to go to the best in the country, and you're going to have friends witness those appointments with you, and people that are not your husband be a part of this story to, in a way, I think, add validity to it. And you can brush off one doctor. You can't brush off 5 from different parts of, the country, and highly, highly esteemed, the best in the country either. So we were encouraged to go to UCSF. But before that, we met with our third doctor in Reno, who was my OBGYN, and I had planned to just go and talk to her. She had been gone when I got the news, and, she delivered my baby and was a part of this. So she was a comfort to me, and I just wanted to pick her brain. And so when she came back in town, my husband stayed home, and I was going to go to this appointment. And Gina is at work, and she's like, I'm taking a lunch break. I'm coming with you. You're not going alone. And I'm like, it's okay. I mean, I know what she's going to tell me. And so that was one of the stories that Gina was a part of. And you can share a little bit about that appointment.
Yeah. Well, it was the first time medically I had participated. Everything else was third party. Angela filling me in, but then going to this doctor, and I wouldn't say her bedside manner was too warm and fuzzy either. And she was just really, really blunt with Angela that you really don't have a choice here. And, your baby is dying, and, your health is at risk. And you have a choice to make. Could lose both of you or just one of you. And her position was strong that Angela should have an abortion. And at that point, Angela was, she said, shell-shocked. She walked around, her eyes were so big, the fear, it was staggering just to see the change in her whole demeanor, because it was almost robotic. And, looking at the situation and going, well, what do I do now? I mean, this is just, the fear was just paralyzing. And just remember looking at her, and I'm like, there's a heartbeat. I mean, there is a heartbeat.
Well, I remember...
And as long as there's a heartbeat, there's hope.
When we went into this appointment, Gina held my hands and was like, all we're asking for today is a heartbeat. We need to know she's still alive, because we can work with that. So as we went into that appointment, she's like, we just want a heartbeat. We pray for more, but we want to know she's still alive, right? And the doctor said that too. When she went to search my tummy, she said, we're checking, I don't remember her suggesting termination. To me, it was like, if it comes down to picking your life or her life, we will pick your life. That's not negotiable. I remember her telling me that, but in my memories, the first time termination came up was the next appointment, but maybe I got that wrong. Regardless, you were there encouraging me, and like you said, I was like a robot. And I remember leaving the building, and I just ugly cried, and just keeps getting reinforced. You're hoping the first little doctor was wrong.
Right.
And that's when you held my hands, and we sobbed, and
Well, and just reaffirmed she is a fighter.
yeah.
She's still fighting. We can't give up on her.
Yeah. And she's still alive. So
Yeah.
we said, we've got a heartbeat, Angela. That's what we wanted.
Wow.
And so from there, we set up UCSF. I was amazed at how quickly they saw us. Like, this is a big hospital. It's going to take time. We literally called like on a Thursday, and we were in the next Monday. And it was like, wow, that's really, really professional and amazing. And then dawns on you, well, it's kind of a ticking time bomb, and they make
That's
a
true.
priority. So that was
Kind of happened for me too, because when
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer and we wanted a third opinion,
yeah.
they were my third opinion, and they got me in quickly because of the diagnosis was so
Right.
grave.
Right.
And so I think you're right. It's like,
Yeah.
they want to make sure they can help
Right.
if possible.
Absolutely. And I was just blown away, like, wow, they're so professional. But the reality is, oh, wow, they had to. This was a crisis, and this is what they do. Basically, this wing of UCSF, so that's University of California, San Francisco, all they do is diagnose, see the worst cases, like me, and diagnose them, and we do all the scans and everything. So that was our next layer, was popping our son with Gina. That was the first time I think we'd left him. And she stayed the night with him, and he was a hot little mess, a little 1-year-old, and used to having mom and dad around. We couldn't obviously take him on this appointment, and we don't have family in town as far as just popping in with uncle or aunt or whatever. And we just took off. We got in the car and drove and went to this appointment, and that's where we were feeling pretty hopeful as far as, even though we'd got nothing but bad news, word had spread, and we were starting to get this bit of momentum, like they're probably wrong, and you should have some protein shakes, and we got people are praying all over the world,
people are
and
praying.
yeah, and I was like, wow, I was really touched, because I'm like, well, babies die every day, miscarriage and all these things. Why am I getting all this attention? Like, what is it about this situation? I was moved, obviously, very touched, but I was a little confused as to there's a church in Scotland that prayed for me from the pulpit today. And I'm like, really? Through who? Like, it was just like spreading like with these little tentacles, this midterm pregnancy, this little baby that they've said is going to die. And to my recollection, we hadn't been told about termination yet. It was just like, you're going to have to deliver. And so that's when we went down to UCSF and met with bigwigs. And do you want me to talk about that, right? Keep going?
That's where we're going.
Yeah? Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
So that was, I think, one of the most powerful parts of our testimony, is being able to say that we met with this group in San Francisco that's pretty, like the fertility doctor told us, like, if this was my wife, this is the doctor I'd be going to right now.
Oh, okay.
And it's a group down there. There's about 7 or 8 of them, and you look them up. They're Harvard. They're all the top Ivy League medical schools. They're truly amazing, and their job is just to basically, I think, I'm dumbing it down a little bit. Tell women their babies are dying, basically, and help if they can, but they see the worst cases. And we sat through a lecture, kind of one-on-one, with this Dr. Juan, and he was so gentle and so kind and explained what was going on. And we wanted to know, is this going to happen again? How did this happen? What's going on? And it's just very random, the situation. They can't predict it unless you're a heavy drug user. Otherwise, it just happens. And the odds of this ever happening again, you guys can try and have a baby again. And then he very gently was like, at this point in a pregnancy, some people would choose to not continue down the path. And he was very gentle and vague, to the point that my husband was like, what's he talking about? And I'm like, honey, he's recommending we terminate. And he was like, what? And, that was
so hard.
Yeah, to my recollection, the first time was like, oh, wow. So now we have to take this into our own hands. Not have to, but we've been told it's that bad. It's not just bad. It's that bad that they want us to abort. So that kind of was very discouraging. And we gently were like, oh, no, like, we'll see this through. And we've already been told it's hopeless. Why would we not just do this in 2 weeks and let it happen naturally, or a week, whatever it was? And he's like, well, you don't want to go through the trauma of a C-section. It's one of the most major surgeries you can have. There's no way she can come out naturally. She's not big enough, and she won't survive. We can't work with that size, the size she is. And they redid all the scans and everything that we had done in Reno for their own verifications. And then, like, she was actually measuring smaller than Reno had predicted. And
What was the size of that
I think they said she was about 300 and something grams at the time. And so she was basically at birth, she was the size of she was 25 weeks, but she was the size of a 19-week-old. Okay. So she had the lung development and all that would be for 25 weeks, but it was all just teeny tiny. So the developmentally, she was at 25 weeks, but she was just miniature, if that makes sense. So he had said, we can't work with this. We need to work with, I believe it was 500 grams. And I said, well, what if we get to 400? And he goes, I think it was like, we can work with 450 or 400, but we can't anything smaller. So we're like, okay, we'll pray for that. But to go back to that, I said, look, we're people of faith, and I don't care if I have to go through another C-section. Like, I would rather it be that way than us terminating. It's not really an option. And then he went into really explaining how serious it was for me. And he explained that preeclampsia means lightning in Latin, and that's how quickly it comes along. And he said it will take you in 30 minutes. And he said, I'm not just saying that. This happens here. And I see these women and families that leave and they don't take it seriously, and mom and baby are dead within the week. And I'm like, well, we're educated, we're sensible, we're not going to be silly. But he's like, there is not a hospital every 30 minutes between San Francisco and Reno. You're not leaving, because we can't. My blood pressure had started going up, which is no shock, right?
What was your highest blood pressure?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember. But I don't remember. We were monitoring it when we came back. But I just remember it started. He goes, see, it's starting to go up. you're ready. And I'm like, of course it's going up. Like you're
stressing me out.
you're stressing me out. And he put me into triage then and there. And we're like, no, we're here for the day. Like, and he's like, you're not leaving. There's a chance you're going to die between here and Reno. And we had to talk and talk and talk and talk to finally, like, he's like, I've got to go do something. And so he left, and we're like trying to text family, let them know this is so much worse than we thought. They're not letting me leave. It could be another few weeks. I'm going to have to stay in San Francisco by myself. It was just awful. And then another doctor comes in, and I think it was good cop, bad cop thing. And they sent another doctor in, and she was like, you need to terminate this pregnancy. We need to get this done. She said, you walk out of here, everything's fixed. We don't have to worry about you. And you know what? If you walk out of here with the baby still inside you, you could drop dead. But if we terminate, and that right then, this was a powerful moment. Because like I had said earlier, she hadn't really been kicking much. I hadn't felt her much because she was so little. And she just went nuts in my tummy. And I'm getting these little, like the little flicks of the little butterfly kicks. And I'm like, she's going crazy right now. And I looked at this doctor and I said, she's going crazy. She's kicking me. How can I be the one to stop those kicks? That was my words to her. Like, it's not up to me, And I get there was probably a lot of adrenaline. It's like having a sugar hit, and probably woke her up. But it was a very powerful, like one of my friends said, like, she's like, Mom, I'm still in here. Don't forget about me. It was just her little voice.
Oh my gosh.
And eventually, I think they gave up on us, and they're like, just go. Like, they knew we weren't going to just admit and have a abortion. And so that's when they said, you're free to go. You must promise to call an ambulance, pull over and call an ambulance. And we're getting in touch with the hospital in Reno to see if they can handle this situation, because they didn't know if Reno was up to what was happening. And they said, okay, you can go, but you have to absolutely promise you will call an ambulance at any point and get rushed to a hospital. So that was the end of that part of the journey.
You obviously made it to Reno.
We made it back.
Yeah. So we're gonna stop here, and we're gonna have our next episode. We're gonna continue with you, and I just want to thank you so much again for being here, and I can't wait to hear more.
Okay. Awesome.
All right,
Thanks, Leanne.
thank you.